Get ready to embrace debate. First Take starts now.
Coming up on the First Take podcast, LeBron gets rejected and the Nets win. But did the refs blow the call? Plus, did Kevin Durant purposely end his own scoring streak? And why didn't Kevin Costner put us in his new movie Draft Day? We'll ask him when he sits at the desk. All that and more coming up on the First Take podcast, which starts right now. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to First Take. I'm Carrie Champion, sitting next to Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith. Still new digs for the next day or so.
Studio G.
Studio G.
What's up? What's up? Great, right?
Or gangsta, because we like that. Yeah.
How are you?
I'm good.
Coming up on the show today, Orioles center fielder Adam Jones rips fans for running onto the field. Did he go too far? You listen and then decide. And last but not least, award-winning actor, star of Draft Day, Kevin Costner will join the desk.
Wow.
I know that is a wow.
Stepping up in class.
Listen here, all A game on this show. But first, let's talk about Nets beat the Heat 88-87, but of course not without controversy. Foul or no foul is the question many asked after the last play of the game. With 2 seconds remaining, LeBron had the ball, went up for a dunk, blocked by Plumlee. Clearly there was contact, but no call after the game. LeBron discussed it. So let's listen.
It was a foul. That's my thoughts. Should have been going to the line for two. Got fouled twice. I didn't need to watch it. All right. I mean, he grabbed my right hand. I mean, he didn't do it on purpose, but he got my right hand, and, the ball went off the rim and then back. If you get all ball, the ball's going to go straight down. So, but I mean, what are you going to do about it?
It only mattered if 3 people thought it was a foul, and they didn't think it was, so we win. You have to guard him with multiple guys, so obviously we were shrinking the floor, trying to make him kick it because he's such a great player. You have to commit multiple guys to him. So I thought Sean did a great job individually on him. And then guys were ready to rotate and help.
All right, Skip Bayless, question for you. Foul or no foul?
This is easy for me, Mr. Smith. That was not a foul. I would not have called that a foul in the first quarter. I would not have called that a foul in the final seconds. And I remind you, LeBron James had to try to go up flat-footed. He did not have any dribble momentum. And remember, Plumlee, the rookie from Duke, surprised LeBron because I think LeBron thought he was about to get tackled. And the rookie from Duke, who does stand 6 feet 11 inches tall, went straight up and got all ball with his fingertips. Yes, as he followed through on the blocked shot, he did touch hands with LeBron James, but the shot had already been blocked. It was not altered by a foul, it was altered by a block. That's why the shot missed. Yes, he followed through and touched hands with LeBron, but that was after the fact. The fact was that the King got a little embarrassed by the rookie because it was a clean block. Game over. Very good. No call. Thank you, Mr. Referees.
That haterade that you drink on a continuous basis is something
Diet
special.
Don't you knock down
I've got to knock the Diet Mountain Dew, boy, because it's got a lot of haterade up in there. I don't understand how you could see that was not a foul. Now, here's the thing. I have no problem with the foul not being called because in that particular moment, you don't want the game to be decided on a play so closely because, again, your hand to some degree is a part of the ball. But if you look at it, LeBron sort of lost a little bit of control.
He did.
Which is why Mason Plumlee ultimately hit his hand to some degree. But it could have easily been called the foul. He definitely got a part of LeBron's hand and his wrist.
Was the ball not gone?
Well, the ball was somewhat gone. There's no question about that. But again, Plumlee hit his hand and his wrist. To sit there and say it was a clean block is utterly ridiculous.
No, it's not.
There's no accuracy to that whatsoever.
Yep.
I mean, you know what? These are some really nice glasses that I rock. You are more than welcome to wear them anytime you choose because I don't understand how you can sit there and say that wasn't a foul. But again, despite my feeling that it was a foul, I want to emphasize that I have absolutely no problem with that not being called and with the referee holding the whistle in that play because it was too close for you to decide the game on a play like that. You're LeBron. Yeah, you went up with 2 hands, but at the same time, you could have gone up stronger. You could have used your body. You could have done something more to create contact, to make the contact a bit more conspicuous and obvious than you ended up doing. but you didn't do that. And as a result, y'all lost this game. But at the same time, it's not like he's off his rocker for saying that it was definitely a foul. It was a foul, but the rookie, Mason Plumlee, who, by the way, should be first team all-rookie, by the way.
He's turned into a nice NBA player.
Listen,
I
this
would
is
agree.
a backup guy.
Yep.
He was supposed to be backing up Brooke Lopez and what have you.
I agree.
And Kevin Garnett.
Thank you.
Both of them have been out. This guy has filled in admirably. What he has been doing for the Brooklyn Nets, I can't say enough about the kid.
Yep.
He is unquestionably first-team all-rookie. It's Michael Carter-Williams. It's Victor Oladipo. It's Mason Plumlee.
Yep.
It's that simple to me.
I mean, his numbers are not staggering.
They're not
7
staggering.
and 4, but he had 8 and 8 last night, which were pretty big numbers.
9 and 7 through a certain stretch, shooting better than 60% from the field, being a presence down low in terms of finishing, in terms of blocking shots, in terms of rebounding. He has clearly contributed to the Brooklyn Nets being 33 and 13 since the new year has arrived. He deserves a lot of credit. But in the end, it was still a foul. But it's nice to see that the referee didn't call that because it was too close to call, and there's no reason to make that call in that situation. You're the superstar that is LeBron James. You can look at this two ways. One is that you should have found a way to create more contact to make it a bit more obvious. But number two, on the other side of it, he is LeBron James. And most superstars, and he is the best player in the world, most superstars usually get calls like that on their home court if you had to choose between them and a rookie. So don't bring me embarrassment. What I'm wondering about is, this is a guy, whether it's Indiana, whether it's Chicago, whether it's a plethora of teams that get physical, this is a guy that does not get calls on a multitude of occasions that normally superstars get. And that is undeniable. Now, we can sit there and talk about this play, but it is undeniable that LeBron James, there are calls that he should get that he does not get.
The only call I would have called was Joe Johnson reached in as LeBron
I agree with that.
and got him a little bit on the left
totally agree
arm.
with
That's
that.
why he lost a little control.
I totally agree with
up.
that. I totally agree with that.
Okay, since I did have so much Diet Mountain Haterade this morning.
Yes, Diet Mountain Haterade.
Now I'm going to put LeBron on the couch. And I'm not going to give him a pass on this because he has failed in this situation before. We know he's been a shaky late game free throw shooter, although he is much improved this year, for the record. But I am here to suggest that I think LeBron James was greatly relieved that the whistle didn't blow. I believe that LeBron James, who made a big show in front of his home fans as he looked up at the scoreboard and doing this, he put me on the... You know, I think he was greatly relieved that he didn't have to go stand there by himself with virtually no time left on the clock and have to make especially the first free throw to even give himself a chance to win the game. Because if you miss that first one, ooh, baby, does it get hot in that building all of a sudden, because you got to make one just to get to overtime. I do not believe, and maybe that's why, if we're going Dr. Freud here, that LeBron didn't go up stronger, knowing that that might cinch the fact that he would get the foul call.
You've outdone yourself. You've outdone yourself with your ridiculousness. Within the
nailed both of them.
How much time are we into the show? We are 8 minutes into the show, and you have uttered out of your mouth two of the most ridiculous nonsense that I have heard come out of your mouth. What are you talking about?
You know exactly what I'm talking about. You have agreed with me about this.
No, wait a minute. Skip Bayless. It's a regular season game. I totally agreed with you in the past about his reluctance to go to the free throw line and his penchant for shooting jump shots, okay? This is before he was a champion. It was before he was a 4-time league MVP and a 2-time champion.
You've done that lately.
But wait a minute, Skip. Here's what makes your comment just now. Asa 9, 10, 11, and 29, as you put it, just yesterday. Skip Bayless. It's one thing if LeBron decides to pull up or throw a little floater in the lane or something like that. No, Skip, you're saying that as the greatest player in the world, elevates for a two-hander, or elevates for a dunk. Oh, let me see. I really don't want to get fouled.
I really want. Please, Mr. Referee, please don't blow your whistle.
I really don't want to get fouled. Like, he's literally thinking like that. That is insane, Skip. That makes no sense.
Wait, hold on just a second. We're about to lead to our second question here. Was there not a little added regular season pressure because of the fact that team had beaten them 3 times and was in danger of beating them a 4th time? Was that not a little more pressure for for LeBron to have to go stand there by himself and shoot those shaky-handed free throws?
No, when you're a two-time champion and you've been to the last 3 NBA Finals and the expectation is all about rings, Skip, there's no pressure in April, in the beginning of April, within the regular season confines. There's no pressure.
Was Dwayne Wade out there last night? Was he out there?
No,
he wasn't out there. All of a sudden, the whole world is on LeBron's shoulders.
Well, you just finished being about a week or two removed from saying LeBron has played better when Dwayne Wade wasn't out there.
I haven't said that.
You haven't said that?
No.
I'm hallucinating now.
During that stretch when he was hot?
Right, but it's not just that. He's been playing better when Dwayne Wade wasn't on the floor. When he gets back on the floor, it's an adjustment for him. It was actually easier for him without Dwayne Wade. So my point to you is, when you look at it...
So you're saying they'd be better off in the postseason without Dwayne?
Oh, I never said that.
Okay, thank you.
I know, but it's easier for him because he doesn't have to figure things out. He just gets the ball. But in the end, the bottom line is you're driving to the basket. You're literally saying that as he elevates for a dunk, he's in midair. Please don't call the foul.
Don't call this.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Happiest man in the building
is LeBron
James.
That's ridiculous.
Skip says LeBron didn't want the call.
You're so disrespectful.
LeBron, you know that I know.
No.
You know that I know.
That's ridiculous.
You put him on the couch. Let's move on. He doesn't
put you on the couch.
The line.
That would be tough.
Anyway, with the win, the Nets are now 4-0 against the Heat this season. Everyone's on the couch. This is the first team to defeat the Heat 4 times in one season since the Big Three era. The games between the two are always close. Nets winning by at least a point 3 of the 4 times they've met. LeBron was asked after the game, are the Nets really their biggest challenge? He's being put on the couch again.
I think your biggest challenge in the East?
Get out of here, Craig. Next question.
Get out of here, Craig. Listen, big deal, no big deal.
In terms of?
In terms of his response. You even
the terms of Nets winning 4.
Listen, I will say this. I don't think LeBron James should be is come across as dismissive of the Brooklyn Nets as he has come across. The Indiana Pacers are clearly tougher because of their ability to defend and their size. And as a result of that, and you know, you're LeBron James and the Miami Heat, regardless of what the Indiana Pacers are going through, you're not assuming that it's going to continue. All right. At the same time, you look at Chicago and how tough they play, how exceptionally well coached they are. And from a defensive standpoint, with Tom Thibodeau and those boys, with Joakim Noah in them, you're thinking about them and how formidable they are because of how physical they've been and what kind of problems they've caused for you in the past. So I do understand where LeBron James is coming from. But at the same time, it's not even about the fact that Brooklyn is not as tough defensively as Chicago and Indiana is. But they are far more formidable offensively. Far more formidable. The Brooklyn Nets can find a way to put points on the board. I didn't like the one-on-one with Joe Johnson. I know that you want to get the ball in his hands come crunch time. And that brick he shot, I didn't like that, which is an aberration for him because Joe Johnson is a stud when it comes time to close. He can close the deal. Paul Pierce is the truth. There's a reason why the truth is on the back of his jersey. Truth, because he is that dude.
All right.
When you look at Darren Williams, I'm still lost. I don't understand how he scores just 8 points last night. I need more from the $98 million man. Darren Williams is big time. When he's on his game, he is big time. I don't understand it because you're going to need him to be big time. But I say all of that to say, let me give props to my man Billy King for picking up this kid, Marcus Thornton. Out of Sacramento.
He had a
from Sacramento. This dude has no conscience.
I know.
He will pull up from anywhere. Teletovic can ball. He can shoot the basketball. Everywhere you turn with Brooklyn, you can find offense. And if you can find offense, you can create some problems for Miami. There are a different set of problems that Indiana and Chicago poses for Miami, but the problems that Brooklyn poses are incredibly formidable, and LeBron would need not be dismissive of those brothers because the one other thing about Brooklyn, and I don't mean this from a personal or literal perspective as it pertains to off the court, but on the basketball court, the Brooklyn Nets are led emotionally, spiritually, by Paul Pierce and KG,
Yep.
who despise Miami.
They do.
Listen, they can't stand them. I'm talking strictly about basketball.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you right now, they want, do you watch? Paul Pierce got a technical last night from the bench. He wasn't even on the court when he got the technical. He got it from the bench. These guys, they want them. They love going up against them. They don't have an ounce, a speck of fear, and they come at Miami. And all I'm going to say is this. I wouldn't bet against Miami, against Brooklyn. I would pick Miami to win that series. But it could be a 7-game series. And more importantly, LeBron would have to show up, and so would D. Wade, in order to beat these boys. There's no question about that. So I wouldn't be dismissive of Brooklyn, which is what I've been saying.
After last night, I got to give you some props. You have been warning me for a good month. These guys are coming. With Jason Kidd, who looked like for a while he was going to lose his job in his first year.
Now he's a candidate for Coach
Now
of the
he's
Year.
a candidate. And he's part of that fearlessness, that Miami hatred, quote-unquote, basketball hatred, that the new Nets have. And yet, I'm going to remind you, Dwayne Wade did not play in 2 of the 4 games. Is that a big deal? I do think it's a big deal. I also think it's a big deal that the Nets managed to win 4 really close games. Because remember, we got 3 one-points, and then the other one was a double overtime that the Nets pulled away in the second overtime to win by 9.
Yeah.
Okay? So they're really close down to the wire games. And guess what? They got the truth now. And you know and I know, even beyond KG, Paul Pierce does not like LeBron James. And in the postseason, Paul Pierce has tormented LeBron James over time. Am I right about that?
He's tormented everybody.
But he has. But I'm just saying,
Hall of Famer.
He took great pride in putting it on LeBron. Remember, we're going back to the Boston-Cleveland series. Paul was the instigator of that. Paul is not afraid of LeBron. Paul, even at his advanced age, when he still looks half the time like he's got the piano on his back, he still can guard and bother LeBron just psychologically. It's fearless. Marcus Thornton comes to the team, and all of a sudden he's fearless too because he looks at truth and he says, you guys, you're not afraid, are you? So in the fourth quarter last night, Marcus Thornton makes 4 out of 5 jump shots and 3 out of 3 from 3. That'll do it. That'll keep you in a game at Miami, even without Dwayne Wade. So I look at the numbers. The Truce team made 41% of its threes in these 4 games against Miami. That's you're going to win a lot of games making 41%. Miami made 33%. So if they keep doing that, they could make it a long, hard series for the Heat. I scoffed at you. I was doing it like to paraphrase LeBron. Yeah. Get out of here, Stephen A.
Yeah,
I did it last week. I said, seriously? Yeah. I said, maybe I'll give Brooklyn 1 game against Miami in a 7-game series. You said 2 games, right?
At least.
You said at least 2 games. I was trying to goad you into 3 games. And maybe today you're starting to think about 3 games.
Yes, I am.
I'm starting to think about 2 games. And that's a big come up for me.
Yeah.
So they proved a lot to me, even with no Dwayne Wade last night.
You have to remember that Brooklyn's going to push the ball up the floor, and Brooklyn does not rely on one person to score. Darren Williams can score. Joe Johnson can score.
Yep.
Paul Pierce can score. Teletovic can shoot and score. And Thornton now can score. So you literally have and Livingston, when they're on the floor with him, he's a cerebral baller, and he makes them better. Mm-hmm. But my point to you is that when they're on the court at any given moment, they have 4 guys that can shoot from beyond the arc. If you have that, what you going to do, Miami? You're going to have to get out and defend those dudes. But remember, Joe Johnson can get to the hole. Paul Pierce can get to the hole. Sean Livingston can get to the hole. Darren Williams can get to the hole. And if you're going to get to the hole, then you can kick it out to those guys. The reason I break all of that down is because their 41% shooting from 3-point range against Miami shouldn't be perceived as an aberration.
Okay.
These dudes can put it up.
Right.
And that's Chicago and Indiana have shown us they can't do that. So in order to beat Miami, you've got to make it ugly and make it a low-scoring game. Brooklyn is like, no, we don't have to go that route. Yep. We can sit there and score in the 90s or score 100 and let you do that and still beat you.
Yep.
That's it. That's
okay, I'm going to say my bottom line one last time.
Yeah.
the Miami Heat will go as far as Dwayne Wade ultimately is capable of taking them. They need him. No disrespect to LeBron, but you know that's the X factor on this team, as it was against the Spurs last year. When they really need somebody, they have to have Dwayne Wade. Yeah. And remember, that's the 7th straight game he has missed with a quote-unquote hamstring. I don't know what's going on.
He's gone for 26 games now. He's missed his share of games. To some degree, we need to be alarmed, but not totally. I think he'll be ready. But I will say this, and it's time to say this for the record. The Miami Heat must have Dwayne Wade. Otherwise, they're not winning the championship this year.
That's a fact, yeah.
That's just a fact. You may not come out the East, but you most certainly are not winning another NBA championship if Dwayne Wade cannot play.
I think it's idiotic for people to run on the field, and I think the punishment needs to be a lot harsher, and they should let us have a shot to kick them with our metal spikes on. Because it's stupid. I just look at it, it's stupid. You look like a when you run on the field, and we don't go to any other events, and we don't go to other sporting events and do that to their jobs, but they come to ours and do that. I get it, you're drunk, and you want to be on Sports Center. Your ass is going to jail with a fine. You might not be allowed to come back to a ballpark. That's heads up. And I remember a couple years ago, one dude broke his ankle in Baltimore. I was laughing at him. I wish he shattered his femur because it's stupid. It's just point blank stupid. And anybody who does it, I wish the cops tased the living out of them. I wish that.
Alrighty, well, the two fans that ignited that rant came onto the field in the bottom of the 8th inning from the stands and ran onto the field before being tackled by security. One of the fans even tried to hide behind the shortstop. Here's a question, and I'll give it to you, Stephen A. Smith. Did he go too far?
Not at all.
Oh, you agree?
Not only do I agree 1,000%. I'm very, very sorry if people are offended by that. Certainly, we're very happy individuals here. We work for Walt Disney. You understand? ESPN is owned by Walt Disney. And we certainly don't want to advocate violence or anything like that. But at the same time, I think that we need to take into account the seriousness of what this man is suggesting. The fact of the matter is, when you're a player on the field, you don't know what the intent of a fan is running out there. And when we simply laugh it off and summarily dismiss it as if it is no big deal, then we don't understand what we're inviting. Yes, the fans might want to run out onto the field and, they might be a little drunk and one of the fans was hiding behind the shortstop and all of that other stuff. But what if the fan had mal or ill intent? What if their objective and agenda was to harm one of the players? You see, and then if the players sat back and just reacted because of what they perceived or thought to be the case, and that may not have been, then the player would get excoriated. The player would be vilified. And we don't take that into consideration. It's not just that they're high-priced athletes or what have you. They're human beings, and they've got to watch and protect themselves. There are people who, you have two sides of the coin. There are those who aspire to live vicariously through these professional athletes because of the fame, celebrity, and the wealth that comes attached with them. But then there are those who adamantly resent the success that they've been able to reap and achieve. And as a result, you don't know the intent. We see Twitter, we hear about the emails and the hate letters and things of that nature. Just imagine for 1 second, let me take it to a deeper level. Hank Aaron smacks, home run number 716, eclipsing the great Babe Ruth's record. Now, I think, if I remember correctly, the one and only Craig Sager, who works for TNT, he was the one that ran onto the field and, congratulate him. Yeah. He meant no harm.
And Hank said he didn't have any issue with it.
That's right. He didn't have any issue with it. But think about something for a second. Okay. All of those hate letters and everything that Hank Aaron was receiving. Oh, okay. How in God's name would he know at that particular moment that that individual meant him no harm? Right. You see, we got to take that into consideration. So, yeah, his words, Adam Jones' words was very incendiary, came across as very malicious, and I understand people that would be opposed to that, and I get that, and I understand that. But the spirit of what he is saying is something that I totally agree with. It is stupid, it is ignorant, it is juvenile, and more importantly than anything else, you don't know whether or not it could potentially be to the jeopardy of one of these professional athletes. So you need to provide some kind of strong deterrent. And if the law itself won't do it, and if Major League Baseball or professional sports won't do it, I don't have a problem with a professional athlete saying, I wish I could do it myself. Right.
Quick aside before I respond. Do you realize Adam Jones is a 3-time All-Star, 3 Gold Gloves he has won, and won the Silver Slugger last year with 33 home runs and 108 RBI?
He's a stud.
And we have never spoken his name to my memory on this show. He's like Adam, not Pac-Man Jones, right?
All that shows is that we've dropped the ball.
Well, maybe we dropped the ball. I enjoyed his rant because it was eloquent, but it stopped short of what I wanted to hear, and it's where you just went. If you're going to go to the lengths to tell us that you wish shattered femurs upon these people, then tell me exactly why. Don't just toss it off as it's stupid, it's idiotic, because that just indicates he thinks it's a distraction to the game of baseball, the sacred game of baseball. Well, that's not, I think, what he's trying to say. I think he's trying to go where you're going. It poses a threat to their existence on the field. That should be sacred ground. They need to police it harder. We didn't get those details. We just, he would blast, rant, blast, rant, blast. It's because it's stupid.
Yeah.
No, it's not stupid. It's way beyond stupid. It's a threat.
Right.
That's what we're getting at. I hate to even talk about it on national television because I don't want to give.
Yeah.
And I love it that this network, I think most networks now, refuse to show these idiots because most of them are intoxicated. And we don't show them on ESPN, to my memory, at all. We have a hard and fast policy you do not show. I didn't see any of those yesterday. So we don't plant the seeds in other idiots' minds. But I wish Adam had gone that one more step, because it scares me. And we didn't get that from him.
Well, you know, then you're basically just knocking him because he wasn't as eloquent as we are, and we get paid to be this way.
I think he is eloquent. I think he pulled the punch at the end.
I'm not saying that he isn't. I'm saying that in that particular moment, you're just answering a question. You may be so disgusted you're not thinking the way that we're thinking. That's all I mean by that. He's a highly intelligent man, obviously. But I also think you got to remember this. It's a different sport. But when Kermit Washington decked Rudy Tom Johnson,
I was there
in the 70s. Yes, you were there. Let's keep something in mind here. Refresh my memory, Skip. He didn't know who he was hitting. He saw somebody coming up behind him and just, from a reactionary perspective, just decked him. You're on an NBA court or what have you. You don't know who's coming up behind you. You don't know who's approaching you. You may not know, and your reaction, your instincts to react in that fashion may come shining through. You're on a baseball field, for example. I mean, listen, just like you said, these folks, they never know who they're running into. And you never know who you might run into one day. And if one of these players decide to deck one of these dudes that runs out onto the field, I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to hear anything from the public calling out that player because you got no business doing it. Everybody knows your ticket is for the seats in the stands.
And you can't plead self-defense here because you don't know, right?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. You step out on the field, it's at your own peril.
Spokesman for the commissioner told our Jason Stark that they're planning to look into this situation. Perhaps they
see, and that's the part that's embarrassing about Major League Baseball. But what do you mean look into it? How long has Major League Baseball been into existence? How many people have run out onto the field? You don't know what to do in situations like this? You don't literally have it planned, ironed out already?
Adam Jones had it. Fine him. Do something.
It's
a little
ridiculous.
more.
It's ridiculous.
The reason why you don't go to any more events is because you've been to everything. That's why you don't. I just watch everything at home. You've been to everything.
He's earned the right to not have to. I always
sit
say
on the
that.
couch.
I'm dead serious.
Me too.
The idiots scare me too.
No, that's why.
They don't scare me. They annoy me, but they don't scare me.
Very bad for Tiger. I think he's really worked towards my record. His work ethic is fantastic. He's obviously a very, very talented athlete. He keeps himself in great shape, so that's why I think that I still think he'll break my record. As long as he physically is able to do it. He's got, he's 38 years old. He's probably got another 10 years at least of being able to compete. That's 40 more majors to win 5 of them. If I said anything different, I think I would be a jerk. So I think I better say that he will do that. And I still actually believe that.
All right, Jack on Mike and Mike. Skip, you believe him?
I do not. I think he disqualified himself at the end when he said, hey, if I said anything else, I'd be a jerk. And then he said, but I actually believe he will break it. I don't think he does. I think this is a very bright man who closely watches Tiger and does not in any way, shape, or form want Tiger Woods to eclipse his 18 majors record. And he sees that Tiger is a broken-down 38-year-old, and even though Tiger keeps himself maybe in too good a shape, maybe that's the problem, he's had so many injuries, so many surgeries, now culminating with the back surgery, that even though you can do the math and say, gee, Tiger could play maybe 40 more majors before he's 50 years of age. Remember, Jack Nicklaus once predicted after the 1997 breakthrough at Augusta National that Tiger Woods would end up with a closet full of green jackets, as in winning the Masters. By next year, when Tiger again competes in the Masters, it will have been 10 years since Tiger won his last Masters. So that closet is looking a little empty right now. And I speak from some experience, Stephen A. I've interviewed Jack Nicklaus at some length 3 times, one-on-one. So I've looked in his eye. This is an exceedingly proud man who not only won 18 majors, but he finished second in majors 19 times. Tiger's finished second 6 times. And remember, Nicklaus came from behind on Sundays 8 times out of 18 to win those majors. Tiger has never come from behind without a lead going into Sunday to win any of his 14 majors. Jack has a big ego, which all the big superstars do, and there is no way that he wants Tiger Woods to eclipse his mark.
I'm going to lean on your knowledge of it. It's 2 sports that I've never covered in my professional career. NASCAR, which I have no desire to whatsoever in this lifetime, and the other is golf. But I like golf, and I like watching golf, and I love Jack Nicklaus' record, and I love the fact that Tiger was going for it. I was a bit disheartened that, you know, you just openly admit that you can't admit what you really feel because you'd be perceived as a jerk.
Yep.
You openly acknowledge that obviously you care about being perceived as a jerk because in their world, being honest is being a jerk by and large, because you can't say what you really feel. And it just to me lends itself towards those who believe that the sport is filled with a bunch of phonies. From the standpoint that everything, it's about decorum.
I agree with
It's about appearance.
Yep.
It's about perception as opposed to reality, which makes me lean more towards Tiger in terms of giving him a pass, being favorable to him, et cetera, because despite his supposed transgressions and all of this other stuff, when you think about the things that Tiger has said over the years, he may come across as one of the more honest individuals the sport has ever seen, because he was willing to talk about how second place stinks. That's not the word he used, but that's basically what he said. How he is about winning and all of this other stuff. And I think that because of his transgressions, one of the weaknesses Tiger has had, and I'm on the couch here, I think one of the weaknesses Tiger has had is that he's had to transform because he was so sullied on a personal level. I think one of the things that has served as an impediment to his success is the fact that he's had to care more about what people had to say than ever before, because now what people thought about him, it wasn't just about his game, it was about him as a person. And as a result, it's really, you know, he's sort of adapted to the world that he's in as it pertains to golf.
Yep.
So do I believe Jack Nicklaus? Absolutely not. Nobody wants their record broken. They accept it, they appreciate it, and there are specific individuals that if they had to lose it to, they wouldn't mind. Sort of akin to what John Calipari said Monday night after losing the UConn. I hate losing, but I'm so incredibly happy it was to this guy, Kevin Ollie. Something like that is acceptable. Something like what Jack Nicklaus is saying doesn't resonate.
Pre-scandal, Tiger Woods could be painfully but refreshingly honest.
That's right.
Okay, for that sport.
Pre-scandal.
Okay, but he allowed his PR people to build an image of Tiger Woods' perfect husband and father through their website, through the foundation. That was the image presented to America, and a lot of people felt duped and betrayed by that. Okay, so that's what he's having to live down or back up to now.
But what I'm saying is as much of a lie as that proved to be,
Yes.
that was about Tiger and his personal life. Tiger the golfer was refreshingly honest, as you say. Tiger the golfer would sit there and look at you before pre-scandal and be like this. No, I don't want this dude breaking my record.
Right.
And whatever record he may have had at the time. No, I don't want this guy breaking my record. No, I want to hold it. I want to get more records. I want to create enough records so nobody will catch me. Tiger would have been that guy. But speaking to the PR and all of that stuff, there are a lot of people that look, whether it's this show or the multitude of shows on various networks throughout this nation, they'll look at it, the opinions and all of this other stuff, and they're averse to it, they're offended by it, etc., etc. But people like Tiger's handlers, the folks in golf, what Jack Nicklaus just said, it validates what we do, because if you just left it up to them, they'd lie to you all day, because the spin that PRs, handlers, managers, etc. sit there and coax them into performing, it's so obviously and flagrantly deceitful. You know, your only shot at honesty is to watch debate shows. It's really that bad.
You're right.
It's really that
now,
bad.
without Tiger, we're left a lot with Phil Mickelson.
Right.
And I've said many times, he can be pretty phony. And I respect his game, but he can be very phony.
He's got the smile going on, and you know, just that aw shucks look. That, you know, who, me? No, never. That's Phil Mickelson. But who cares? As long as you go out there and play golf, I could care less about everything.
Tiger Woods is 38 years old. Only 2 have won several majors after turning 38, and that would be Ben Hogan and Jack Nicklaus. So it's a tough ask. Quick takes, ladies and gentlemen. The Lakers, speaking of, and GM Mitch Kupchak have agreed to a multi-year extension. What does this say about the Lakers' future, Stephen?
Mitch Kupchak deserves a contract extension. He's good. That's not the issue here. The issue here is the timing of this, because it's basically Jim Bush snubbing his nose at Laker Nation by saying, regardless of what's going on, really don't care what you think, this is what I'm doing. That's the message that's being sent, and that's what makes it incredibly uncomfortable. Again, Mitch Kupchak is a reputable GM. He's solid, if not better. He's a champion as an executive. But the timing of this is poor to me.
Isn't this irrelevant to the big picture process? Isn't it Jim bust or bust here? Isn't that what we're talking about?
Well, yeah, because
isn't the big decision maker the big guy sitting in the big chair?
Well, Mitch Kupchak,
Mitch
Kupchak is his guy, which shows that Jeannie Buss, not that she wouldn't take care of Mitch Kupchak either, but still in all, the timing speaks volumes.
Lakers coach, you got something to say. He's coming, slowly but surely.
Get over here, Kevin Costner.
You guys, you know what? We're just going to
come on in.
Disrupt our quick take.
Get in here.
We got Kevin Costner in there.
Good to see you, buddy. Pleasure to meet you.
Hi, Kevin. Such a pleasure to meet you.
Hi, how are you?
Sir.
Hey, Kevin.
So we were in the middle of doing a show, and we said, who cares? We got the guy here. Thank you so much. Stop what we're doing just for you.
I almost rolled right off the stage.
Yeah, no, here, I'll help you out here. Ladies and gentlemen, our next guest, award-winning, you know what, he needs no introduction. This is Kevin Costner. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, well, I know you just came over from SportsCenter, so thank you for joining us. And you're here to talk about Draft Day, but I must ask, I know that Boomer's in the movie. I think you got Gruden in the movie. No Skip, no Stephen A, no Carrie Chin.
Yeah, well, they didn't make the you know, Boomer and these guys, they start making demands right away, you know, about did they get the girl in the movie? Did they, you know, it's like, no, it's not that kind of movie, honestly.
Well, tell us about Draft Day. Obviously, you're here to promote it. Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, it happens in a single day. All right, so and I'm the GM of the Cleveland Browns, and so there's a little history there. It's like I say, it happens in one day, so I'm up early. I know what's at stake. I'm putting the tie on, and on come all the talking guys on ESPN just dogging me really bad. and my girlfriend, as I'm on my way to work, she wants to talk about a very big issue in my life, and I said, could this wait? And she said, no, I can't. So the man-woman thing is playing itself out beautifully the way it has for a million years. She just won't wait on my most important day.
Yes.
And I get in my car, and the radio's beating on me, the town's beating on me. So things don't go well as I go to work and have to, you know, start my day about trying to turn our franchise around. And what happens is, and I'll just wrap it up, what happens is, things don't get much better, but right at the end, the universe kind of opens up, and he sees an opportunity, and he starts to find traction. So
I didn't think a movie like this could be exciting because I love sports. I watch this stuff. I didn't think it was going to translate. I didn't think guys coming out of the corn was going to work till I read it.
Right.
And when I read this, I thought, you know what? The writing got a hold of this movie and it worked and it became exciting and it took writing because our game is different than a movie.
Real quick, Steve.
Oh, sure.
Do you take Johnny Manziel at the end of the movie?
I don't take John.
Yeah.
No, I don't take John.
That's all that matters. Cleveland Browns.
There's a thing that he has in his mind. Doesn't mean I wouldn't take John, but it was a movie. Okay,
Right.
All right.
that's why you never have to. That's why people think you're really brave in these movies. But if you read it, it goes, "You live." That's why you get to act brave.
Oh,
Right,
entire
that's right.
time.
I got to ask, why the Cleveland Browns? Of all the organizations you could have been a GM for in the movie, why the Cleveland Browns?
Well, it deals with a franchise that suffered for a while.
So not the Cowboys, huh? I'm just wondering.
We talk about the Cowboys. They have their issues. And the writer came from Cleveland. So, a lot of times in this whole game, somebody writes about what they know. And this young guy wrote this script, and it was really, really good. And it was about the Browns.
How much did the unexpected runaway success of Moneyball have to do with the making of Draft Day?
I don't know. I don't play on the rhythms of what seems to be working. This was a difficult movie to get made. It didn't. It didn't cost a lot. It was a. I don't know. I really don't think about trends because I don't think about the conventional wisdom of what's working because my theory about conventional wisdom is what if everybody's wrong. And in sports, you almost have to have that. You have to have your own instincts about why you do something, and a lot of times it flies against what people are saying because the way you measure things is, even though sports is nothing but statistics, and that seems like that to the outsider, we know it's so much more than that. It's being really intuitive about things. I mean, you don't ignore them, but they don't always come to play. When and that's why some guy can take the guys that you have and puts them on his team and they win.
Yeah.
There's something about our game that's interesting.
Got to ask you this question because I'm wondering, playing this role for this movie, you said you're a sports fan, which means that some point in time or another, in the privacy of your home, you're a critic too from time to time. Yeah. What did you get from playing this role? Did it make you more sympathetic towards a lot of sports figures, whether they be GMs, coaches, or whatever? Or I've
always I prefer to watch sports on television anyway. I don't like to go to them live. I don't know how to watch them. I know, and I have to watch every play. I can't just check in with it 5 plays later or and see what's the score, how's it going. That's not how I can watch a game. I literally feel like I have to see every play to understand the rhythms of going forward. But empathy should be something that we all need to have because you got to try to understand really what's going on. I have a hard time rooting against somebody on Super Bowl. I can root for somebody, have a difficult time rooting against anybody because wow, I've been watching all season. I understand. It's like really, you want to go root really loudly in front of some guy's wife. When on the other team, you go, it's hard to do. I'm not loud.
Okay.
I'm quiet.
So we're almost out of time. Of your sports,
how did that happen?
Of your sports movies, Tin Cup, Bull Durham, Field of Dreams, which was the most fun for you to make?
Well, it's always more fun to throw the ball around. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like you horse around. Sports has been that forever. Boom, the whistle starts, you play. But even what people don't know is that when the whistle goes away and everybody goes away, we're still playing.
Yeah.
I used to play till the street lights went out. That's how I knew to come home. But because I try to pick these things really carefully, I almost can't weigh them. I mean, to play baseball out in the cornfield was special when the lights went down and the fireflies started to come up. To play Bull Durham, to go into those little minor league parks and to play against and to play again. That's the word, right? To play again.
Play it again.
I mean, to play again.
To play again.
That's something that we don't want anybody to take away from us. So, pitching a perfect game in Yankee Stadium was magic for me. And, sometimes when the camera would be very high up, they say, well, we'll let a double do that. I said, no, you won't. I'm going to go out there. Because I'll tell you, maybe we are going too long, but that happened when there was that scene of signing the ball up there. Tell them that the ball goes all the way up. Now the owner's up there. I'm in between innings. I'm throwing. That should have been a double out there. I said, no, I'm going to do that. He said, why do you want to do that? I said, because no one's going to be standing there, and I'm going to throw as hard as I can. I'm not going to hurt anybody, because I was always worried about some kid's career.
Yeah.
Because I go out there and I kind of let it go, forget where I am, I hit somebody.
Right.
So there was nobody there. And I remember I was out there for about 30 minutes, because that's how long it took to see us out. That was one of the greatest moments of my life. It's not on film. It was just for me.
Yeah.
I went through and I let it go.
I'm getting chills listening to this story.
Wow.
Draft day in theaters on Friday. Thank you so much for joining us. Quickly, your number one overall pick in this draft. Who would you take?
I really believe in defense.
Okay.
So that's because when you play, the most worst thing in the world is to have somebody that is in your face all the time. Even if you're a great player, I think they'll all admit no one wants to play with a guy that's just in their face all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to play any sport, but especially basketball and baseball, when somebody's in your face. So you have to have the quarterback, but I really believe in defense. I know how it messes you up.
He's going defense, Cleveland Browns. We leave it there. Kevin Costner, thank you so much for joining us.
It really
It's
flew,
been a pleasure.
man.
It flew.
It flew. This is what happens when you're having a good time.
Yes.
It really
You
happened.
got to come back and hang out with us.
Yeah, I will come again. You know, if I put another sports movie in my bag.
Or
but
if or not, you can just come hang out regardless. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
ESPN Radio.
With the action on the court, the diamond, or the gridiron.
Comes alive.
The NBA.
The Miami Heat have won the 2013 NBA title.
Major League Baseball.
The Boston Red Sox have won the World
The
Series.
full championship series.
The tide has risen again, the third time in 4 years.
Your home for the best in sports play-by-play.
ESPN Radio.
This is not the time for logos or trademarks. It's time for these quarterbacks, RG3 and Johnny Manziel, to work on being the best football players that they can be. Now, I'll tell you one thing. Teams don't like that. They don't want to draft somebody, in Manziel's case, that is going to have any distractions. None at all. They want them focusing on, adjusting to the NFL and being a good quarterback. But logos, trademarks, not the time right now.
All right, so does he have a point? That is the question. Newly signed Redskins.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
It's good to have you back on the show. We're glad you visited us.
I know, in the Kevin Costner seats you guys
Yes,
told me.
this is true.
They told you that. I didn't tell you that. I didn't throw you to the wolves the way
I
they did.
appreciate it.
I didn't do that.
No, we did. I was even here.
Yes, I know all the puns. Okay, listen, does Brunel have a point?
First of all, I love Marky B. We played together with the Washington Redskins, but he came into the league in 1994. It was a little bit different then. And you look at these guys right now, it's not like Johnny Manziel and RG3 are sitting in the design room saying, no, I need you to tweak this, or I need you to move this around, or do this. So you know what? I'm going to go miss this practice today, or I'm going to miss this workout so I can go get this design set up. You have teams, you have Nike, you have Adidas who is going to push these things. And I think what's going on right now is these guys are kind of pioneers for football players. Basketball guys do this all the time. Sure. Come straight out of high school. In LeBron's case, he had a logo right away. He had his own tennis shoe. Kobe Bryant has a logo. Certain guys get these things, and maybe they get passes because they're basketball players. NFL is so much about the shield. NFL is so much about the team on your helmet. And so I think having somebody who sees beyond that, who sees outside of the game as far as marketing themselves and making money. You play this game for a short time. You have to build your brand any way you can. Now, if these guys were out, right now making movies, or doing things that can take away from the time you spend preparing for the game, I can understand and see why these things are being said about them and why Mark Brunell would feel that way. But it's not doing that. And I think the bigger picture about it is these guys have perceptions that have been built about them outside of football. RG3 has the things that went on with the Shanahan regime. Yeah. Johnny Manziel has it, whether it's hanging out with Drake or whether it's being courtside at basketball games. So I think this is just another thing for people to nitpick at. But if both of these guys go crazy this year and play well, they won't be talking about these things.
Stephen A.
I like Mark Brunell as well. And I think one of the things that people have to remember is that don't judge him by his last few years in New York with the New York Jets organization. Yeah. Judge him all of those years the Jacksonville Jaguars were an elite competitor on this level because Mark Brunell was their quarterback. We respect his football knowledge. My issue with him, however, is with what he had to say there, is that I think that on far too many occasions, people like himself and others are emblematic of a society and a system, dare I say, that give the coaches and the executives and the teams themselves too much of a pass. You do need to be dedicated. You do need to play hard. You do need to be responsible and to be a leader. But it doesn't mean always doing things the way they say that you should do it. Doing it differently than what they always want you to do doesn't make you bad, doesn't make you cantankerous, doesn't make you somebody that somebody else should not want. If Johnny Football is the first to practice and the last one to leave, if he's in the film room all the time and he's done his homework, but then he decides, you understand, that he wants to brand himself, or he wants to party on a Saturday night or whatever the case, during a bye week because he's got some time off or whatever. I've told you before, that would be news. And in their eyes, it would be something that's frowned upon because their attitude is, and I've said this on many, many occasions, they're talking ownership here. And that's my issue. You understand? We work for ESPN. We're not owned by them. We have lives outside of work. And when you look, and I go back to Kerry Williams, that was at Baltimore before leaving for the Philadelphia Eagles last year. He went on the Philadelphia radio stations and went ballistic. He said, wait a minute. This is news. It's a voluntary workout. I voluntarily decided not to come.
Yes, sir.
I have that right. And it's not an accident. You got to remember something. Reporters don't show up to practice. Contrary to popular belief out there, reporters don't show up to practice for voluntary workouts. See somebody that's not there and say, oh, I got to write about this. This is a story. It is usually someone within the organization that has pointed out that this person didn't elect to show up, that are conveying and echoing a problem with it, even though it's voluntary. It's not an accident that there are new rules and regulations stipulating the amount of practice time that you can have, you know, because of the collective bargaining agreement. Because if owners, team executives, and coaches had their way, you'd barely have an opportunity to watch a movie. Really. They want that kind of ownership, and nobody calls them out for it. You don't play. If you're an executive or a coach, what is it that you're supposed to do? Figure out a way to let people be themselves while you coach and be the executive. If everybody had to fall in line with exactly what you wanted, then what are your responsibilities really? Think about that. You don't have any.
Okay, good point. Ryan made a good point. But I'm even older school than Marky B, as in Mark Brunell.
Yeah.
I'm going to go all the way back to this guy named Namath. Remember that guy?
Yes.
Broadway Joe Namath? He made RG3 and Johnny Manziel look under-promoted. Seriously. We're going back to 1969. He guaranteed that he was going to win a Super Bowl, and what did he do? He went out and backed it up. So the bottom line to this discussion, the reason I don't have any problem with Manziel especially, I believe he will back it up. Immediately start backing it up on the football field. And if you're in Johnny's locker room, even as a veteran player, your early 30s, you'll be good with, you'll be fine with whatever. He trademarked the house that Johnny built. Now that's way out there, man. That's being pretty presumptuous. Are you going to go somewhere and get a house built? Like a state? Seriously, you get this? I mean, this is, I don't know if anybody's ever done that, gone quite that far. But my problem with the guy I love, who's now your quarterback, Robert Griffin III, is last year, for whatever reason, we can go on and on, he could not back it up. And in the locker room, I think some people were saying, oh, you made a documentary about your comeback last year, your recovery, and look what we got back for it. Nothing. We got, what were they, 3-13 last year? 3-13? You got a lot to prove. So you can do your trademarks and your logos and all this, which, you know, I don't have any problem with the Adidas thing because Derrick Rose did it and other stars have done it. No big deal. But, Ryan, if RG3 plays the way he did last year, by about week 8, Ryan Clark's going to quietly think to himself, my quarterback's failing us here. I don't. You won't say it publicly.
Well, I think the thing that you have to realize and that other people won't, I've had this conversation with him. You know, we talked. You know, as soon as I got to the team, we had a conversation.
With Robert.
Yeah, we had a conversation. I've never seen a person that wants to lead a team as badly as he does. He wants to be one of the guys, which in a lot of situations, quarterbacks don't want to be. You know, he's the guy. I went to the workouts. He was the guy leading the 150s when we were running yesterday. You know, he was the guy breaking down the huddle. So I think he wants to be a part of that, and this team desperately wants him to be.
Sure.
The logo, you're right, the logo is only going to have an effect on RG3 is if during the season he doesn't play well. I think it'll be talked about in the media, it'll be talked about on different shows. It won't be something we sit in the locker room and say, man, if RG3 wasn't sitting designing that logo in the offseason, he would sure be so much better. It's not going to be that thing. I understand, like, the documentaries and different stuff last year. I can be honest, I spoke about that on this show, on other shows when I was asked about it. I was like, you know what? Maybe you should just calm down and just work on getting back to football. And it's not because doing those things will take away from what he was doing working-wise. What it does is it puts a microscope on you, and now people want to see. The same thing with Derrick Rose when he had those commercials. People wanted to see him back on the court. Listen, you're making these commercials, you're doing these things, we want to see it. So it does put pressure on yourself to perform, but these people believe they can perform.
One of the things I think is important to mention, guys, is that, again, I even, having said all that I said, I took issue with the documentary because I thought it was a bit presumptuous, and it puts yourself in an elevated position where you've got to back that up and you've got to perform, and that's an unnecessary level of pressure to put on yourself.
It was.
But I think there's a distinction that it's important to be drawn between somebody who's trying to promote themselves and somebody who's trying to exploit their own marketability to their advantage. Like, if you're just bringing attention to yourself no matter what, with the wedding photos on the Instagram and all of this other stuff. I've met RG3. I've talked to RG3. I like him a great deal. I'm looking forward to watching him perform this year, and I think there's some mistakes that he realized he may have made along the way, and we all know that Mike Shanahan was a bigger culprit than people realize, and let's not get beside that. It's not like RG3 should be excoriated or anything like that. But my bigger issue is you can't look at guys constantly trying to take advantage of their own marketability and ignore the reasons why behind it. You have an NFL that is exceptional at marketing the Shield, that comes across as if they handpick 4 or 5 guys throughout a league with more than 1,000 players to promote. And then somebody comes along and they says, okay, one play could end my career, but I could sign this contract right here. That's going to give me just as much, if not more money, that I potentially have the ability to make in my entire career. Let me maximize that. And a coach, knowing the Shield, knowing what the NFL represents, knowing what it epitomizes, has the audacity and unmitigated gall to turn around and be offended by what you would do to exploit your marketability. It's wrong for them to do that.
Quick question for Ryan before we go to the next topic.
Sure.
Now that you've seen the Redskins up close for a little while, obviously, big picture, RG3 just got his weapons that he needed. He got his Deshaun. They shored up the defense with you, and we can go on and on. But the team looks on the verge of being back to where it was 2 years ago. How much added pressure is now on that quarterback?
I think it's big. This is a quarterback-driven league. Whether you win or lose, the quarterback is the guy that it usually goes to. The attention goes, okay, you played a great game when we won, or you didn't play well and we lost. I think he's ready for that attention. He's a guy who's been in the spotlight. When you win the Heisman, you become that guy. When you're the Rookie of the Year, you become that guy. I think Coach Gruden has done a good job of kind of trying to shield him from some of those things early, and I also think he'll help him the same way he helped Andy Dalton on the football field.
I don't know if that's the example you want to use, Andy Dalton. Showing up in the postseason. This boy's allergic to the postseason.
Leave it to Stephen A.
That's right, but guys, just keep in mind this. Daniel Snyder has a history of spending money. But right now, every penny that he spent on you, on Deshaun Jackson, doesn't matter. It seems to be because he's saying, I have a quarterback that can take me there. There's immense pressure on RG3.
Sure.
But you believe, we believe. Coming up, guys, let's talk about this. During Monday night's national championship game at Jerry's World, cameras caught Jerry Jones in his suite with Tony Romo, a quarterback, Jason Witten, and Jason Garrett. Also, Presidents 42 and 43. Nevertheless, a former Cowboy, Marcus Spears, took notice, and he tweeted this. Wonder if any other players get invited to these off the Cowboys team. Sends the wrong message to me. Spears later elaborated on a Dallas radio station. Let's listen.
When you have that type of situation in the locker room, possibly it causes problems. And that was my point. It wasn't to make anybody look bad or say Jerry's doing something wrong or anything like that. I just wonder if any of the other guys felt like they should be there or if they ever were invited to any of these events. You understand in this league that your star players are going to have things come their way that most guys don't. I'm not benign to think that. I've had opportunities that some guys didn't have. The team aspect has always been first to me. And that's just the bottom line.
Yeah.
I don't know if it sends the right message when your head coach is hanging out with one particular guy. I think when you building a team, when you got a team concept, as many young guys as the Cowboys have on the team right now, I just felt like it would have been a good situation for all of them to try to get together and hang out and build that team camaraderie and that morale with the guys.
All right, Skip, does he have a point?
I think he has a very strong point. I thought this was a bad idea, a bad look, and sent a bad message. Jerry Jones is no fool here. He knew he was going to be seated next to two former presidents of the United States. And because of that, he knew that would attract a whole lot of camera time. And he also knew that if he positioned in his box just below them on the front row, his quarterback and his quarterback's best buddy, Jason Witten, that those two were going to get a whole lot of, by association, camera time. So it underscores the view of the Dallas Cowboys that I despise, because I think it's what's wrong with the Cowboys, which is these are Jerry's pets, they have Jerry's ear, and that Jerry wanted to be seen as rubbing elbows with the two most popular Dallas Cowboys up in his box during a showcase event at Jerry World. Jerry, I did not like it, and you know you were out of line.
Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, I mean, I think Skip said it best. I called Marcus this morning. I did my Stephen A.
Ooh,
you know, I did my
like
Stephen A. Got my Stephen A. I learned that. You know what I mean? And then we went to school together. You know, and I hit him up. I said, what were you trying to say? He's like, I just really feel like it creates a them then us mentality on your squad. And I mean, it really does. Unfortunately, even for Dallas though, when they lose, Tony Romo gets all of that too.
Heat.
So it's not like it's been any separation when they win or lose that Tony Romo doesn't get picked up on, or Tony Romo's not just killed in the media when they lose. So he gets that as well. But when you look at this team, they need to be building a team, a sense that we all matter. You know, they need to all take ownership in the fact that it's on all of us to help the Dallas Cowboys win games. I don't know. Maybe if DeMarcus Ware is still a part of the team.
I thought about that.
Maybe if he's still a part of the team,
maybe he would have been.
Maybe he gets an opportunity to go.
Yeah.
You know, I know Morris Claiborne. He likes basketball.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, you know, does Dez Bryant like basketball?
We don't know who they invited.
But that's my point, though. You don't know who he invited. You don't know. It obviously wasn't open to the whole team. So I think Jerry just has to look at it and say, what message am I sending? I think even more so than what you said about getting those guys camera time and those guys getting opportunities to be seen, I think he misses the whole point that everybody knows that's his guys. Sure. He misses the point that everybody knows these guys are different from the rest of us. In Pittsburgh, you know, you had your guys, but it was a place that everybody got praise, whether you played defensive tackle. Casey Hampton was one of the most popular guys in the city. Jeff Reed, when he was a kicker, was one of the most popular guys in the city. And it's not like that in every place, but everyone took ownership in the fact that we have to do our jobs for this team to be successful. And when you set two guys apart like that, when you have a coach that hangs out with one guy at the Duke game and I'm rebounding for him as he's shooting three-pointers, it sends a message to the rest of the guys, you know what, you're not as important as they are to us.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Mr. Smith's face. Well, you see his face.
Do I have time to go get a sandwich?
Yeah, go get a snack.
This could take like 15 minutes,
Go
right?
ahead, Mr. Smith.
First of all, if it takes 15 minutes, it's because you have granted it to me. Secondly, and more importantly, I think both you and Ryan are right on the money with what you said, but your synopsis is incomplete because there's a bigger picture here, and I'm shocked that y'all didn't bring it up. It's not just that Tony Romo and or Jason Witten are constantly seen with Jason Garrett. It's also that the Cowboys seem quite comfortable to be the walking piece of mediocrity that they are.
I'm not going to bring that up.
I saw Tony Romo. I mean, you see Tony Romo at the Duke game. You see him with Jason Garrett. They're traveling together and all of this other stuff. It's not just about the fact that you see them together. It's how comfortable they look to be so mediocre. I mean, you would think these dudes would be hiding. You would think these dudes would be going like this. I really, not so much Tony Romo because you hurt your back. You're trying to heal your back. You want to work out. You want to go with the coach at Duke and, you want to work out with him. And, there's nothing wrong with that. Plus, you're a player. So you deciding to be at sporting events around other players, we absorb that. We accept it. Okay, that's cool. But when Jason Garrett is out there, just think about this. I can't imagine anybody closer than Tom Brady is with Bill Belichick. It is rare that I see Tom Brady with Bill Belichick. I see Tom Brady with Giselle. I see Tom Brady at some events. I don't see him with the coach. Peyton Manning, Tony Dungy, all right, and then this time John Fox. When I see footage of Peyton Manning, I usually don't see him with them. I don't see him with John Elway either. Okay, Drew Brees and Sean Payton, we know how tight they are. We know they practically talk every day. We know what Sean Payton needs to New Orleans Saints. I don't see Drew Brees everywhere with him.
I do think, real quick, Peyton and Elway went to play Augusta National last year.
That is an actual golf event.
It is.
Okay, and oh, by the way, that's Peyton Manning being one of the greatest quarterbacks ever, and oh, by the way, fresh off a 13-3 season. You see the difference?
So they can hang out.
What I'm saying to you is that you can hang out when you're winning. You can hang out when there's a reason for it. I have never seen, I'm thinking along this line. Jason Garrett, for all intents and purposes, and I don't mean, listen, the man's got a family, he's got a job, he's got a paycheck. I'm not trying to do this, but I'm just saying to me, and I'm Skip, you want me to tell you what job I actually want? It's free. It's not even a job. It's free. I would actually love to come on a Dallas radio station on a weekly basis to talk about it. This is ridiculous. For nothing. Because they just give you, Skip. It's not even work. It's like this. Can it be this easy? Can it be this easy? They're throwing alley-oops all the time. Skip. 8-8. Jason Garrett he's got this big fat smile on his face. Everywhere you see him, I'm hanging out with him. Hey, how y'all doing? I'm a walking piece of mediocrity, and I'm just sitting there going, how y'all doing? Only in America. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. This is how he is. And I'm like, and you're Jerry Jones? And listen, Jerry Jones can make a legitimate argument that it's all about business. I got the two former presidents sitting next to me. I got my $1 billion playpen. We're hosting the Final Four. Please, he's got nothing to explain. He's a billionaire. He's trying to make money. He's doing what he's doing. We understand. What is Jason Garrett's possible excuse? We're sitting here debating how Johnny Manziel and other players, you got to live football. You can't come into the league and don't succeed and do X, Y, and Z. Well, Jason Garrett's a head coach, and you've been a walking piece of mediocrity. Why are you walking around smiling? The way Jason Garrett looks, it's like somebody that just got out of prison. I'm totally free, and I have nothing to worry about. Everything is beautiful. Right. This is Jason Garrett. It makes no sense. Time out.
What did I conclude 2 years ago? Jerry Jones is now more about box office than box score. He doesn't care about the outcome.
Question. I'm asking you a question. I'm saying to you, I get that. I'm not even getting on Jerry Jones. I'm saying, what's Jason Garrett? I'm talking about intestinal pride and fortitude. Personal. What in God's name are you doing? Sitting at all of these events. How you doing? Everything's all right? I love you guys.
The owner loves him.
His job
He's like a son to Jerry Jones.
Well, that's why he's so happy.
And by the way, Jerry's favorite new word is relevant. We are still relevant because Stephen A. Smith wants to go on Dallas radio station and talk about him every day.
Once a week, not every day. Once a week.
Talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars. No, you don't.
It's unbelievable.
You do Jacksonville radio. No, you won't.
The question remains. I'm not talking about. I understand that, Jerry Jones. You're absolutely right. I understand that, Ryan. I'm saying, your own individual pride. For 3 years, not only have you lost, not only have you failed to get an above 500 record, but each season came down to the last game of the regular season, and you lost to all 3 division opponents, the Giants, the Redskins, and the Eagles. How do you have the audacity to sit there in the American public with a big fat smile on your face? You know what? It's no big deal. It's like everything's great. How do you do that?
You want him to quit. Would you quit if
I forgot we were talking about a basketball game.
I don't understand it. I just don't understand how he could be that comfortable, y'all. I don't get
understand it. All right, listen. Stephen A. doesn't.
Shouldn't he be in the film room?
Jason Garrett is here.
Shouldn't he be in the film room? Shouldn't he be studying?
Shouldn't
he be figuring out something?
Coordinator anymore.
Stephen A. has something to say.
Hey, come on, man.
I can't take it.
He doesn't understand. Jason Garrett, if you're listening.
I can't take it.
Ryan Clark.
It was good. I mean,
Ryan, aren't you glad you're not a Dallas Cowboy?
Oh, man.
Oh, do we? Oh, we would have so much fun.
After this, I would probably tell them, like, every time they email me to do the show,
I'd be like, I can't do it.
I got to go work out.
If Ryan Clark was a Dallas Cowboys, I would have made it my personal business to be at every game I could this season just to go in the locker room and look at you after every game. I would just stop and just look at you. Like, really? Really? That's what you decided to do? Oh, my goodness.
You'd be here
Oh, my goodness.
All right, this is your last block. You'll be back tomorrow so they can talk bad about you, make fun of you. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much. For the first time since January 5th, Kevin Durant did not reach the 25-point mark in a game. Durant did not play in the fourth quarter of last night's win and scored only 23 points, just too shy, snapping a streak of 41 straight games with 25 or more points. Durant spoke about the streak ending after the game.
I was getting so many texts out there every game. I'm glad that's over with. I could just focus on the team. If we play well and I had 25 points, that take away from how well the team was playing. So I didn't like that. And if we lost, it was all about me scoring 25 points. I didn't like that either. So I'm glad we just talk about the team now.
Head coach Scott Brooks about the streak ending. He says he's about team. If he wasn't, he would have played golf and tried to chase Jack Nicklaus's record of 18 majors. We're putting Kevin Durant on the hook. Do you think he ended the streak on purpose?
Me personally, yeah, I do. But I don't care. I don't mind. He's entitled to do it. And I got love for KD because I think he's going to be the best player in the world within. So by some, he's considered that right now.
He's playing the best.
He's playing the best right now. And I think within a year or two, he will be unquestionably the best player in the world, if not sooner. And, his off-court character is what it is. And Scott Brooks, I'm a fan of, and I've known him for years. I just have to say that here's what turns me off about them, and it needs to be said. I am sick and tired of, whether it's the body language or it's the verbiage where he seems to be complaining about his own greatness. With his level of greatness comes great responsibility. And what Kevin Durant and Scott Brooks, I'm going to say this to both of them, and they both know how much respect I have for them, so this is all with respect. They need to understand that you need an assassin to win a championship. You can sit there and talk all of this stuff about how you're tired of the streaks and all of this other stuff, but Kevin Durant has elevated himself to a point where anything short of a world championship is not good enough. Anything short of an NBA championship is simply not good enough. You're just too great to have less. LeBron was held to this standard. We held it to him. We wouldn't let up until he ultimately captured it because his greatness demanded validation in the form of a ring. That's what it is going to be with KD. Now, that doesn't mean, some people will sit there and say, well, there were teams that won championships without a star. Well, I remember somebody brought up the Bad Boy Pistons. I said, you don't know basketball because Isaiah Thomas was a star, a superstar, and a Hall of Famer. They talked about the Detroit Pistons with Chauncey Billups and Big Ben Wallace and Rasheed Wallace and Rip Hamilton and Tayshaun Prince. That was true, but the combination of Big Shot Chauncey Billups, along with Rip Hamilton, you had closers. And when I look at Kevin Durant, I know that he has the ability to do everything that we're talking about. But I still see somebody that doesn't want to accept the fact that, yes, tell us the obvious. You want the gratuitous stuff out there? Sure. The team has to play well. The team has to play together. The team has... Who the hell doesn't know that? Of course they'd have to do that. Serge Ibaka's got to defend. Russell Westbrook needs to be healthy. Cephalosha and Reggie Jackson and Jeremy Lamb and Allen and all of these boys, they have to produce and make their contribution. Of course we know that. But in the end, Kevin Durant has to close the deal in order to win a championship. Rings mandate that at some point in time, somebody steps up and says, y'all move out the way. I got this.
Right.
And Kevin Durant doesn't seem to want to embrace that responsibility. He fails to realize you have no choice. It's going to be on you, no matter what way we slice it.
It will be on him. I'm not sure it's fair to put it all on him. I've told you, I have come to believe, and a lot of people far smarter than me have tried to convince me of this, that ultimately Russell Westbrook has more of, and I know you hate the analogy, has more of the Batman in him, while Kevin is an extremely talented Robin when it comes to intangibles. But back to the bigger, I think we just lost lights here.
This is a loss. Don't worry about it.
Well, that's okay.
It will shine. It will shine upon you. Don't worry about it.
You said they were too
Even
bright
in
anyway.
darkness you shall be
Somebody
seen.
didn't want me talking about
Guess
Durant.
what? Yes, so be nice.
Now I'm bad, and I'm bad. I'm going to go.
Okay, you got it.
So here's the point. I loved what Kevin Durant did. He sabotaged his own streak. I'm sure he could have fought Scott Brooks and said, let me play the fourth quarter last night because it was just Sacramento. Russell was not playing last night. They're holding him out once again, which gives me pause. I don't know what's happening with his knee. But the point is, he's exactly right. You got to get rid of this because they are not going to catch the Spurs. They own the Spurs, so they're not afraid of having to win a Game 7 if it can't. It's the way they play against the Spurs, it's not going to go more than 4 games in the playoffs. The way they turn into Michael Jordan Bulls.
Believe.
Well, it's just I have to believe what I see, and so far I see 4-0, like no hope, no chance. I mean, at least the Heat are competitive against the Nets.
They'll get
The Spurs are not competitive against the Thunder, not yet. We'll see how that plays out. But the point is, why wouldn't he sabotage his own streak? What good does it do you to go 25+? So that's a building block toward what counts, which is team, which is we. I love all that. But in the end, it's going to come down to somebody's going to have to make big shots against a team maybe that they're playing tonight. They're at the Clippers tonight.
Sure.
They may have to beat the Clippers before they get to
Which is not going to be
demolish
easy
Spurs.
because I'm telling you right now, DeAndre Jordan's going to get free throws. I'm not going against the Clippers, against anybody.
All right.
But let me also say this. Skip, it's not that he broke the streak. It's that he was complaining about the streak while he was in the midst of it.
The entire time.
Okay? And so, the people interviewing him, I mean, he was the closest thing to Greg Popovich during the interview when they were asking him about the streak. It's like, my Lord, calm down. You're great.
Yeah.
You're one of the top 2 players in the world right now. In some people's eyes, number 1. You're that great. And yes, you're going to need Russell Westbrook because Russell Westbrook is that alpha male. There is no doubt about it. But at the end of the day, you have to have, because Russell Westbrook, and I think he's great, and I'll always want him on my team, Russell Westbrook is not as great as Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is that dude.
Pure
talent. So in talent. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, in order for them to win the championship, at any time, whether it's now or next year or the year after, it's going to take Kevin Durant saying, enough of this.
Okay.
Give it to me.
Okay.
I will take us. And I'm not talking about not passing the ball, just shooting it, just scoring it. I'm not talking about it. I'm talking about a mentality. When Scott Brooks is willing to say, well, if it wasn't about the deal, it was about individual, he'd play golf, whatever. Scott Brooks is a highly intelligent basketball mind. And he understands that no matter what you're talking about, when it comes to team basketball, Sam Presti, exceptional executive. That organization is first class. They know that in the end, what it's going to come down to is that stuff is going to break down. And this dude right here, we need you, do it. And he has to accept that mentally.
Which is why I believe the degree of difficulty for these Thunder to break through, the Durant-Westbrook breakthrough to a ring, is higher than LeBron's first ring breakthrough. he did have Dwayne at his side.
Which helped.
Dwayne Wade had a ring.
Sure.
He was a made man in the NBA.
Right.
They don't have a made man on this. They got Derek Fisher. You know.
I agree with that. Well, I can't just rule out. I like Derek Fisher. I like what he brings to the table. I'm very proud of what I've seen him do this year, particularly over the last month or so.
But he's not a superstar.
He's not a superstar.
Not
and I understand Russell Westbrook is not a made man, meaning he doesn't have the rings. But Russell Westbrook is going to show up. And I'm not saying Kevin Durant isn't. I'm saying the mentality can't be, well, we're all here together. Somebody has to stand on a pedestal at one point in time and say, you know what? This is my team. And he doesn't seem to be willing to do that. That will have to change. The moment it changes, Oklahoma City's going to win several championships.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to win several championships.
Kevin Durant, Skip and Stephen A. say you're great.
He's fantastic.
You got high-class problems, my friend. UConn coach Kevin Ollie was on Mike and Mike this morning, and he was asked about his interest in coaching the NBA. Let's listen.
No, not now. I really want to concentrate on this, and I don't know what God has in store for me later on in my life. But I love UConn. I told everybody this is my dream job, and I'm not just saying it to be saying it. This is a wonderful place. I'm having a wonderful time, and if they lead a historic campus, better people than basketball players, I've done my job.
Not that I expected him to say, yes, I'm out, but should he consider leaving college for the NBA?
Not at all. He just enjoyed his success at UConn. The reason he has that job is because of the faith Coach Calhoun showed in him. You've been on the job for 2 years. Your first year, obviously, the team was banned from postseason participation because of academic issues. And then this year, your first NCAA tournament, you win the national title, and all of a sudden you're going to jump ship for a job that you call your dream job, for a job that your predecessor, an iconic figure in these parts and in the sport of college basketball, strongly facilitated you getting. You don't just jump up and leave after something like that. You still have some things to prove. We know that you can coach. Now, can you recruit, and can you sustain the level of success? It doesn't have to be to the level of Coach Calhoun made for you, but you don't just jump up and leave, particularly when you just signed a contract just a year ago. You wait for that, and you show and prove for a few more years, in my estimation.
I hear you, but I do not begrudge a man to seize the day when the day seizes him. And he signed a year ago during the band year, which he started as an interim, as you remember. Then he signed for 5 more years, a total of $7 million. So he's making 1.4 the first year. This isn't huge money. It's okay money. But hey, can he continue to go out on the recruiting trail now and challenge Calipari and Coach K and the AAU wars? Really, you going to go out there? Because I remind you, it was a Cinderella run. I know they don't like that at UConn because they are UConn and they have a great tradition. But we just saw a senior guard come a little bit from nowhere and lead them on a miraculous 6-game run after a regular season in which they had some real issues, man. They just on, what was it, March the 3rd, they lost 81-48 to Louisville. That was and they lost 3 times. And they lost by 9 twice to SMU, and they lost to Houston. And I don't know if I don't know the Lakers. I still look at the Lakers as the Lakers. I look at it as a dream job because it's a dream franchise. And I know it's fallen on hard times, and I know it looks like there's no light at the end of that tunnel.
But there's light at the end of that tunnel.
Well, okay. So let's just do the hypothetical. If Jim Buss calls, as much as he might not love the idea of working with and for Jim Buss, but hey, if it's, I don't know what the money would be, $6-7 million a year.
Why wouldn't you?
Well, listen.
Carpe diem.
Come on. You're talking to a proud capitalist.
Okay.
Ain't no way in hell I'm going to sit there and say that the man should turn down $6 million when he's making 1.2. I'm just thinking, all things being equal, you stay with the job that you have, considering the other mitigating circumstances, the way you praise and laud UConn and what it's done for you, your life, your career, whatever.
I get it.
I will say this. I have no problem whatsoever if he's looking at UConn right now, which basically gave him the job on an interim basis essentially before signing him to a contract, I definitely think he should look at UConn with what he's done for them and talk about doubling, if not tripling, his salary. I definitely think I think that he warrants $2.5 to $3 million per, not the 1.2 with their cheap sales. The fact of the matter is, UConn's got some money.
Calhoun was making the most.
You can certainly come through and pay this brother, you know, for what how he has uplifted this university. But assuming something like that happens, I definitely think he should stay.
By the way, do I think he could be a great NBA coach?
Yes.
I mean great. I don't toss that word around lightly. I think he could be great.
Wow.
Again, it depends on your demeanor over the course of 82 games. That's a lot to ask with professional athletes that are hard-headed and may not be willing to listen to you the way those kids were.
Skip giving out compliments. That's a huge compliment,
I think this
Kevin.
is a star on the rise.
Yeah, so do I.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Final Take, Rapid Fire Q&A. Up first, the Spurs lost to the Timberwolves last night, and to make matters worse, Manu left in the third quarter with
Come back,
with a left calf bruise. Meanwhile, Tony Parker, he will miss the road trip because of a back injury. But Coach Pop says, look, hey, it's not a big deal. Skip.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Are you concerned?
Stephen A. Smith, I told you after the Oklahoma City loss, I don't like the way Greg Popovich coaches toward the end of the regular season. He planted negative seeds that, like, I want to lose. Please lose. So last night, they were down 20 at halftime at Minneapolis. And I said, I'm turning this off. I've seen enough. They are losing momentum and now their health. Right on cue as the real games approach. And I don't like it. And I'm far more worried about Tony Parker's back, some facet injury that he has, as opposed to Manu's calf. I think Manu will be okay. I'm not so sure about my point guard or my basketball team at this point.
Oh, boy.
I'm not concerned. There is not a single player on the San Antonio Spurs averaging more than 29.7 minutes per game. They've got a roster that goes 9-10 deep. You got Marco Bellinelli, who you acquired in the offseason to offset any kind of potential injury that would come Manu Ginobili's way. You got Patty Mills. Tony Parker will be fine. You just don't want to put that load on their bodies, which Greg Popovich has done a massive job of not doing. There are certain people, Skip, even as critics, even as cynics, even as reporters, that you just sit back and you treat like EFR, and when they speak, you listen because they know their team and they have earned the right to have the benefit of the doubt. I know that I don't know basketball, nor do I know the San Antonio Spurs like Greg Popovich does. So when he speaks, I listen, and I'm not worried about it.
Right here, right now, will you guarantee me my Spurs will win the West?
No.
Why not?
Because it doesn't matter to me whether they're healthy or not. I think if DeAndre Jordan could play in the fourth quarter and hit free throws, I think the Clippers could beat them. And I think Oklahoma City, if Russell Westbrook is healthy, could beat the Spurs. But I do believe that the Spurs are the best option or the best opponent for the Miami Heat.
I agree.
I do believe that.
Skip is stressed.
He's always stressed about the Spurs. He's such a big baby when it comes to them. It's ridiculous.
I admit it.
But then again, I'm that way about the Knicks. But the Knicks stink half the time.
Well, let's talk about
Spurs win.
Let's talk about the Lakers.
What about them?
They don't stink so much.
Why are we talking about them, by the way? And why were they on national TV last night?
Because they're a big deal.
Really?
They're a big deal.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Mike D'Antoni.
Cowboys of the NBA.
Hey, the Cowboys of the NBA. Mike D'Antoni addressed the rumors of John Calipari, apparently Perry, coaching for the Lakers and said he felt empathy for him. Your thoughts on that?
How can a man that I feel sorry for, Mike D'Antoni, feel sorry for the coach that was rumored to be his replacement? What dream world is he living in? What delusions is he suffering?
I think it's D'Antoni believing that after losing the national championship game, one of the first questions you have to answer is about the head coaching job with the Los Angeles Lakers. I think that's what he was alluding to. But in the end, I feel you're right. I feel sorry for Mike D'Antoni because
he ain't coming back.
Despite the fact that the job hasn't been that impressive, especially when you give up more points to anybody in the NBA last year than did last night with Houston.
Yes.
He's had a whole bunch of injuries. He hasn't had a team to coach. In fairness to Mike D'Antoni, we got to point that out.
He's not coming back.
He's not coming back.
That's what I've been told. He's not coming back.
Not happening. We're done. We're coming back tomorrow, though. Thanks for listening to the podcast. We have a full house tomorrow. Marlon Wayans and Layla Ali join us in studio. Catch First Take at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific on ESPN2.
What makes the Indy 500 the greatest spectacle in racing?
Back home again.
We are playing. Everyone in the grandstands are on their feet. You're now the winner of the Indianapolis 500, my friend.
The Indianapolis 500, Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific on ABC.